Long before Europe formed a shared identity, its first great battle was already being fought. The heroes of the Greco-Persian Wars didn't know it at the time, but they marked the first stand of Western civilization against a foreign invader. And it all began with a decision born out of desperation. In 499 BC, the Greek cities of Ionia, located on the western coast of present-day Turkey, had long been under Persian rule. Though nominally autonomous, they were ruled by tyrants loyal to Persia and subjected to heavy tributes. The tyrant Aristagoras, ruler of Miletus, had ambitions that outgrew his means. Seeking to expand his power, he persuaded the Persian satrap Artaphernes to support an expedition to conquer the island of Naxos. But the campaign ended in failure. Naxos held firm, and Aristagoras returned in disgrace. Faced with the loss of his position, Aristagoras turned to rebellion. In a poorly calculated move, he renounced Persian authority and called on the Ionian cities to rise with him. The revolt spread quickly. City after city cast off Persian rule, driven by the hope of freedom and a better life. Aristagoras knew Ionia could not stand alone, so he sought aid from across the Aegean Sea, namely the city-states of mainland Greece. In Athens, the appeal stirred old sympathies. Though far removed, the Athenians saw in the Ionians kindred blood and a shared culture. They agreed to help. 20 ships were dispatched, joined by 5 more from Eretria, another Greek city-state. Though small in number, the simple participation of this expeditionary force would alter the course of history. The Allied forces struck at the city of Sardis, the Persian capital of the region. They set fire to the lower town, sending a clear message of defiance to the empire. But what began as a tactical strike escalated into full-blown war. Temples burned, and with them the patience of the Persian king. Darius the Great, ruler of the Persian Empire, was not a man to forget insults. Upon hearing of Athens' role in the destruction, he sought revenge. According to legend, he ordered a servant to remind him daily, "Master, remember the Athenians." The Ionian Revolt raged on, but Persia responded with overwhelming force as the rebels took a defensive stance. Gradually, city after city fell again under Persian rule. In 494 BC, Miletus, the heart of the revolt, was retaken and destroyed. Its inhabitants were captured, and the message was clear. Rebellion against Persia would be answered with decisive force. The man who sparked the fire, Aristagoras, fled to Thrace but found no refuge. He was eliminated soon after. The revolt had failed. But King Darius would not rest until Athens had paid the price for its defiance. A greater conflict was coming, one that would reach the Athenian shores of Attica and test the will of the Greek world. 2 years after the Ionian Revolt, the Persians crossed into Europe, re-subjugated Thrace, and subordinated Macedon in northern Greece. Then Darius sent ambassadors to all Greek city-states, demanding their submission. To his dismay, Athens and Sparta executed the ambassadors in a clear message of defiance. With the military record clearly in his favor thus far, Darius sent an amphibious invasion force to Greece in 490 BC. Eretria, one of Athens' allies in the Ionian Revolt, became the first mainland target. Betrayed from within, the city fell after a week-long siege. With its people held captive, the city was razed. No mercy had been shown, and none would be offered to Athens. Then the Persian fleet sailed south, landing at the Bay of Marathon, a mere 45 kilometers, or 25 miles, from Athens. Here, the Athenians stood alone. Envoys had been sent to Sparta, but their assistance was delayed by a religious festival called the Carneia. Conveniently, the Spartans were forbidden to participate in military activity during this time. The Athenian army numbered around 10,000 infantry. Some reinforcements came from Plataea, a small city that stood by Athens in this moment of need. On the other side, the Persians outnumbered the Greeks almost 3-1 on land and had tens of thousands of sailors in reserve defending their 600 triremes. In the Greek camp, command was divided among 10 generals, each leading for a day. But one voice emerged as decisive, Miltiades, a former exile with first-hand knowledge of Persian tactics. He argued against waiting for Spartan reinforcements. If they fought now on ground of their choosing, they had a chance. Miltiades quickly acted on the news that the Persian cavalry was re-embarking on ships, perhaps to sail around and capture undefended Athens. The Greek phalanx took the initiative and struck with deadly force. The center was thinned intentionally to make their army equal in length to the Persian army. This move drew the Persians inward, while the flanks remained strong. As the Persian center advanced, the Greek flanks curved inward, trapping them in a deadly pincer. Caught between shield walls of bronze, the Persians began to collapse. Panic spread. Those who fled were cut down at the shore or drowned trying to reach the ships. By the end of the day, the Persians had lost over 6,000 men. The Athenians lost fewer than 200. It was a staggering, almost unthinkable outcome. Among those lost in battle was Callimachus, an Athenian war leader who was honored as a hero. The Persian fleet retreated, briefly sailing toward Athens, but the Athenian army, having marched swiftly back from Marathon, arrived in time to defend the city. According to later tradition, a runner named Phidippides was dispatched to Athens to bring news of victory and warn about the Persian fleet. After delivering the message, "We have won," he reportedly lost his life to exhaustion. Though the story may be more legend than fact, the sentiment was real. Against impossible odds, Athens had prevailed. For Athenians, the victory was a revelation. It proved that citizen soldiers, fighting for their own land, could stand against imperial power, even without Spartan help. Yet none were under the illusion that war was over. The Persian Empire had suffered an embarrassment, but it had not been entirely defeated. The Greeks knew that Marathon was only a prelude. Denied both battlefield and city, the Persians withdrew, humbled and aware that Greece would not submit easily. Darius began preparations for a massive second invasion. But before it could be launched, he died in 486 BC. The burden of vengeance passed to his son, Xerxes I. Xerxes was ambitious and resolute. He wanted to consolidate his power, then avenge his father's humiliation and extend Persian dominance into Europe permanently. His plans required time, years of gathering troops, ships, and provisions from across the empire. From Egypt to Bactria, Phoenicia to Babylon, the empire was mobilized. It was the largest force the ancient world had ever seen. In Greece, the looming threat brought bitter debate. Some urged appeasement. Others, like Themistocles of Athens, argued that only strength could deter Persia. A skilled orator and visionary strategist, Themistocles saw that future victory would depend not on land armies, but on the sea. He persuaded Athens to invest in warships the newfound silver from the mines at Laurion. By the mid-480s BC, Athens had begun building a fleet of triremes, sleek, fast, ramming ships that would become the backbone of Greek coastal defense. Meanwhile, Xerxes began one of the most audacious engineering feats of antiquity. At the Hellespont, present-day Dardanelles Strait, he ordered the sea itself to be bridged. The first attempt failed when storms destroyed the structure. In a rage, Xerxes reportedly ordered the sea whipped with chains. When the pontoon bridge was finally completed, the king's army began crossing into Europe, an endless river of soldiers, cavalry, and supplies. Estimates vary, but ancient sources claim over 1 million men crossed the strait. Modern scholars suggest a number closer to 150,000, a staggering amount nevertheless. The Greeks understood the scale of the threat. For once, old rivalries were set aside. A council of city-states met at Corinth to plan a unified defense. Sparta, the leading military power, agreed to lead the land forces. Athens would command the fleet. The Greeks then chose a narrow mountain pass to make their stand, Thermopylae. From the flames of the Ionian Revolt to the epic battle on Marathon's plain, we have witnessed the first Persian invasion of Greece. Now Xerxes himself marches toward Athens with even greater fury. In Part 2, we will stand shoulder to shoulder with the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae, sail into the narrow straits of Salamis, and witness the final clash that decided the fate of the Western world. If you enjoyed this first chapter, subscribe and ring the bell now, because the story continues, and the greatest test of freedom is yet to come.